So for anyone who may be new, who does not know me, my name is Kenesha Berry. I am a relationship life coach. The relationship I help my clients with is the relationship they're having with themselves. Because I know that we cannot have a good, healthy relationship with other people if we're not having a good, healthy relationship with ourselves. So that's what I do. I use emotional awareness to help my clients gain clarity about who they are. I help them get clear about what they need emotionally. I help them to understand fear at a different level. I've learned that life is two emotions. Many times we think life is full of emotions, but there are actually only two emotions, and everything else is an expression. It's an expression of the two emotions, and the two emotions are love and fear. And I found that most of us spend a lot of our time, our mindset, our hearts in the emotion of fear. And fear oftentimes looks like worry, anger, frustration, self-doubt, insecurities. Where love, we think about love when we think about I love someone or I want someone to love me. But as a Bible girl, we know that love is so much bigger than just a feeling. It's a command. It is wisdom. It's knowledge. It's understanding. It's so full and it's so beautiful. And so when you begin to expand the way you think about emotions, you can begin to see yourself and your life differently, because now you begin to operate at a different level based on are you choosing and making choices and decisions from love, or are you choosing and making those choices from fear? And just that alone, if you begin to kind of expand the way you're thinking and get very open to your emotions, from that can change everything. So yeah, that's what I do. So tonight what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about 5 ways to stop sabotaging our relationships. And I'm totally guilty of it too. So I'm not just speaking to you guys, I'm speaking to myself. And I'm just sharing what I've learned, and I do my best to apply these things to myself daily. I'm not perfect, no one is. But the difference between the thing that I've learned about what I teach is it has helped me to recover and to get out of my head, out of the emotional space quicker and faster. So instead of moping or being in a certain emotional state for too long, I'm aware of it, and then I can choose how long I'm going to stay there. And that's the power that I try to teach to my clients. So tonight, let's talk about what is sabotaging and self-sabotaging. So when we sabotage, is just bringing in negativity. It's bringing in an energy to destroy something instead of building it up. And what I've learned between research, the people that I teach, and even in my own life, is that a lot of times we're sabotaging situations, particularly relationships, is because we have a stronger belief in the fact that things probably would go wrong more so than going right. And in our effort to protect ourselves, we will sabotage the situation. So there's a saying that says, we do not have in life what we want, we have what we believe. And many of us have these very interesting beliefs about marriage, love, and relationships that oftentimes go unexamined. And so we live and we move and we make choices from these deep beliefs that we don't even they're not even top of mind. So we just keep going. And so in that, because of maybe our family patterns, the things that you saw your parents do, the things you saw your grandparents do, the way you maybe grew up seeing relationships. What I've learned is many times very few of us have been blessed enough to grow up and see healthy relationships where parents or the people around us know how to effectively communicate without screaming and tearing each other down and calling one another names. Many of us, or maybe we lived in a home where the parents didn't even talk to each other. They didn't even like each other. They just kind of moved around one another. And as children, you see that and you begin to absorb that and you begin to think as your normal, Or you may set your mind to, I'm not going to be that when I get in a relationship. However, unless you learn intentionally a new way to do something, you will do what you know. And if all you know is chaos, yelling, screaming, kind of crazy, if that was your normal structure of love and relationship, whether you liked it or enjoyed it or not, it's your model. And so you will continue to do things from that space. And so sometimes we'll sabotage a relationship because, one, if you never or believe that you never was loved, when someone comes into your life that is trying to show you love, you may push them away because you have this belief that I can't trust that. Yeah, they say they love me, but yeah, they're nice, but so you doubt everything, and it's not necessarily them. It might be, but it may be you, and it may be your model and where you're coming from. So I just want to dive right in and listen. Feel free, like, share, ask questions, let me know you're there, say something. If I say something that makes sense, I like to know that I'm talking to someone other than myself on this thing. I do a lot of talking, and so I would love to hear from you as I go. So if there's a question, even if there's something I said that already registered with you about the self-sabotaging, and did you grow up seeing healthy, loving relationships? And what is your norm? Like, if any of that speaks to you, say something, let me know. Either click like or say something in the comments so that I know that you're here with me. So let's jump in. So one of the ways that we self-sabotage, or we sabotage our relationships, meaning that we cause them to end, or we create chaos in the relationship before they really giving them a chance, is the way we think about relationships, is our expectations. Okay, so thank you so much for the like. So one of the things I want you to start doing is I want you to start really thinking about, what do you expect from a relationship? So if you're married, or if you want to be married, or if you're just in a relationship, like if you're in some type of partnership of a relationship, I want you to really start thinking about, what are your expectations? So many times we have these kind of broad expectations of, like, I want them to be kind, or I expect them to communicate with me. I expect them to be loving. I expect them to support me. Like, I expect them to be there for me. Those broad ones. But then there are times when we have these really kind of narrow expectations that we carry with us, but we don't communicate. And maybe we're not even aware of them fully ourselves, because we could carry it in our subconscious, and then we express from our anger because the expectation isn't getting met. The thing about our expectations become our rules for relationships. So what are the rules that you hold? Like, a good rule is, if you're in a relationship with me, you can't cheat on me. Okay, so that's a great rule, right? But what if, like for me, when Andre and I first got together, for me, cheating was anything you do where in your mind you think, I wouldn't want Kenesha to know this, to me is betrayal. So, like, is that fair? I don't know, but that was my expectation. And so what I'm saying, I share that to say, are you clear about what you expect from another person in relationships? And then once you begin to think about your expectations and you really begin to examine them, right? It's crazy, right? Once you begin to examine them, are they realistic? Meaning, like, are your expectations of such that they can really be met by your partner? And based particularly on who your partner is. So here's one of the things I always say. You would never ask a broke man or a homeless man for money. So regardless of the fact that that person is in a relationship with you. So let's say, worst case scenario, your father was homeless, right? Because he's your father, you can't go to him and be like, Dad, I need $100. If he's homeless, he's homeless, like his conditions. And then you can't hold him to the expectation, well, because you're my dad, you should do these things for me. If he's incapable, that's what I mean about unrealistic expectation. So if you're married or if you're in a relationship with someone where you see that this person isn't loving, he isn't kind, he isn't giving, he isn't generous with his time, he doesn't know how to express, or she doesn't know how to react or respond, it's unrealistic to think because you in relationship with me or because you love me, you should do these things. We hold our partners and people, parents, we do this to coworkers, we do this to friends, we hold them to these unrealistic expectations based on the relationship. Because you're my sister, because you're my cousin, because you're my friend, because you're my coworker, you should call me, you should check up on me. Are those expectations fair? Are they realistic? Two, do you judge people because they're not meeting your expectations? So we're still dealing with that same, like the same expectations, but I want you to start thinking about what you expect from people in relationship. And one, are your expectations realistic? And two, then do you use your rules, your expectations, maybe even your standard, to judge other people, where you think, well, if they don't do it the way I think it should be done, there's something wrong with them. That is a quick way to sabotage a relationship. So the second thing I want you to know and to think about that definitely will create problems in a relationship, and you always hear people say it, is communication, right? One, I need you to communicate effectively to yourself your expectations. Like, I need you to get super clear about what you expect. And even if they start coming up and they begin to reveal themselves to you in the relationship, you need to start really going like, wow, I didn't even know I expected. Like when Dre and I first got married, even though we lived together, I think 2 years before we got married, something about the moment I said I do, inside of me somewhere came this expectation that I thought Andre was supposed to always be the person who put gas in my car. And that came because my dad does that for his wife, right? And so now, mind you, for 4 years of knowing Andre, I never required this. But the moment I said I do, all of a sudden I am having this expectation that I didn't even know that I was carrying, that I didn't communicate to him, that he was supposed to pump my gas. And so the moment I'm getting my car and there's no gas in my car, now I'm mad with him. And I'm like, you ain't put gas in my car. He's like, it's your car. I didn't even know you needed gas. What are you talking about? And so when we had the conversation, he was like, I am not your dad. You're not your dad's wife. So you got to let that go. And so getting clear about some of the expectations that we bring with us into the relationship, and then communicating it to ourselves, and then knowing how to communicate it to our spouse. But realizing that, like, just because you ask them to do something doesn't mean they have to do it. And I know that's hard for a lot of people because you think, well, if I'm expressing my expectation, shouldn't they do it? Not necessarily. They may have some expectations that you're not willing to do. And so the point is to communicate about it and then learn how to acknowledge it and then decide for the relationship, is this expectation helping the relationship? Is it harming the relationship? Am I sabotaging the relationship because I carry a fear that this isn't going to work anyway, so I'm doing all I can to tear it down? Like, these are the kind of things you got to start thinking about, because oftentimes we tear down relationships because we carry all of this stuff. Okay, so the third thing I want you guys to start thinking about am I sabotaging my relationships? Now, this one is a really good one, and this one is so typical of most of us, is we make assumptions, right? So it's the story that we begin to tell ourselves when our partner isn't meeting. So a lot of times what we do is when our partners and the people we care about, thank you guys so much, Sonia, that you're out there and you're listening. The other thing we do is when we're in a relationship with the person and they don't meet our expectations, right? that we haven't even spoken. Because some of us have this thing where we do this thing where he should know. That's like crazy. It's weird because as women, we'll say that men are what they're not. Like, he's lazy, he's this, like we talk. But then we think they're mind readers. Like, make up your mind. Why would you think he can read your mind if he's not even capable of taking out the trash without you telling him? That's giving a man a whole lot of power. But what happens is you don't communicate your expectations. You're not clear about what they are. You don't communicate them. And then when your expectation isn't getting met, you begin to build these assumptions. You build this long story. You begin to tell yourself things like, and we do this to our friends. We do this to our parents. We tell ourselves like, well, they must don't care. They must don't care about me, because if they cared about me, they would call me. He must don't care because he knows how important it is to me that, you know, he's there for me, that he shows up on time. So obviously he doesn't care. If he doesn't come on time, because I'm not going to keep telling him to show up on time. If he doesn't come, then he doesn't care, and this relationship isn't working, and I must not be worth anything to him. Like, we build these huge stories in our mind against the people that we're in a relationship with from our hurt and our anger. Guys, to me, that is one of the worst things we can do. And I used to be so guilty of it, and it still comes up sometime, but now what I do is I just go delete, like, no thank you. If I have a friend or someone I consider a friend and I haven't talked to them in a long time, and my mind starts saying things like they don't care about you, really, if they was your friend, they would check in on you, I just tell myself, stop, delete. Because until you tell me that, if you are in my life as a friend, as a spouse, my brother, my sister, my family, until you verbalize to me, Kanisha, I do not care about you, I've decided that I'm not believing those things anymore. It's what my thoughts are taking me to. So you have to decide not to listen to the story that your mind creates about another person. If you haven't had the conversation, if they have not verbalized it to you, you are making it up. And I get it. Like, we have always done that. You hear it in conversations. Well, he did so and so, so he must not. Like, we create whole stories about what a person is thinking, how they're feeling, based on their non-response to us, or based on the fact that they responded in a way we didn't like, right? So here's an example. Maybe you're in relationship with a person who drinks a lot, and you've asked them not to drink. And so they continue to drink, and then you tell yourself stuff like, if he loved me, he would stop drinking alcohol. He must don't care. I done asked him 1,000 times to stop drinking, he's still drinking, so obviously he doesn't care. That's a poor assumption. His love for you may have nothing to do with his deep need or desire or lack of control of the alcohol source. So for you to make that all about you, you're creating an opportunity to sabotage the relationship instead of communicating to find out, like, what does alcohol mean to you? Why is it so important to you? This is how it makes me feel when you're drinking so much. Is there anything you can do? Do we need to get you help? Like, that's the real conversation to have, not the one that we make up in our mind. So we got to stop making assumptions, building these stories, and then reacting and being angry with the people we're in a relationship with based on our story. I'm telling you, when I start learning that, there's a book called The 4 Agreements. And one of the agreements is do not make assumptions. When I read that book, and I read that the whole process that we build these stories in our head, that was freeing for me. So now when my brain started going like, if Andre's late, right? Instead of building this whole story about, oh my God, he late, or maybe something happened, or he's late. He knew we had to be there on time. That makes sense that Dre don't care. Instead of letting it happen, stop. Like, maybe he's late because something happened, and I'll just wait to hear from him. I just don't build the stories anymore. And so I encourage you, stop building stories about people without asking them. And that takes courage, it takes vulnerability, it takes maturity, but you gotta start asking people. When you said you was gonna call me and you didn't, like, it really hurt my feelings. Can you tell me why you didn't call me? Instead of me making up this story of they must don't care. They told me they was gonna call me, they didn't care. Because what if something really like important happened on their end and they couldn't call? And now you've built up this whole story and you're mad. And when you find out the truth, you're like, oh, my bad. No, stop making up stories. Ask questions. Be an adult and ask the questions. The fourth thing we do, this is a good one. I almost made it number one. To really sabotage relationships, guys. This is a big one. We really think relationships is where you're supposed to find happiness. They are supposed to make me happy. Like, the moment you put your happiness in someone else's hand, that relationship is already going to bring problems. You got to think about, like, if you've been around past 15, right? Which I do find it interesting that there are adults, particularly adult women, and I'm trying to warn my son about these women. He sees it now as a teenager, and I'm like, oh my God, your girls do that, but sadly women do too. We tend to fantasize about like we love a fairy tale. We may pretend like I ain't necessary, but we really do. We love a fairy tale, and we love the happily ever after story. If you really think about relationships and what they are and who we are as human beings, like the fact that you have in your own life your own emotions, your own thoughts, your own way of doing things. You think, whether you believe it or not, like you are convinced that the way you do life is good. And most likely, if you're like me and like people I listen to, on some level, you think that if other people didn't like the way you did it, life would be better. Like, because you think your life is good, right? But think about that. So then you take and you bring someone else into your world who think their life is good, the way they think, the way they express, the way they do things is really good. It's the best way to do it. And here you come with the way I think and the way I do things is good. And you put that together. You really think that's going to create happiness? Like, who told us that marriage was for happiness? That's the weakest thing. Think about, like, if you're a God person, I believe in God, and I love the Bible. If you think about it, do you really think Eve came to make Adam happy? Happy? Like, Adam was chilling by himself. He was cool. Remember, in the Bible, God said he had to tell Adam he was alone. So then he brings this other person, and now he has to stop what he's doing to attend to this person. How is that, like, how would that alone produce happiness? Relationships are about so much more than happiness. They are about your growth, your opportunity to emotionally mature. They teach you how to forgive. They teach you how to love at a different level. But listen, if you are in a relationship depending on someone to make you happy, you might as well end the relationship now, because it's just not going to happen. Like, you weren't designed to make someone happy, and no one was designed to make you happy. You are responsible for your own happiness, and I need you to get that. Like, you're responsible for your own happiness. Now, a person doesn't need to come into your life to bring you turmoil and drama and all of that. Even though when that happens, you get to decide, how am I going to be in this? Am I going to be in a relationship that will push me to grow, push me to mature, cause me to self-reflect, like, why do I keep meeting these kind of people? Why does this situation keep coming up for me? Okay, God, people like him always make me angry. And so maybe I have an anger issue that God is saying, I want you to deal with. Let's heal what creates that anger for you. What fear is anger attached to? So I believe that's what relationships are for. Relationships are to reveal our brokenness, to lead us towards the parts of our lives that need to be healed. And when you're in, particularly I believe, when you're in a marriage, I really think marriage is where you have the opportunity to heal most. But because we're so busy trying to be happy in marriages, many times we miss the opportunity to heal. And now I'm not talking about abuse. Like, if you're in an abusive marriage, please, whatever you do, get out. But I'm talking about if it's just the little things, they get on my last nerve. If he would just do things my way, if she could see it my way, why I don't get why they act like this. All of that stuff is coming up in you to allow you to grow up, mature, heal, reveal to you stuff about you. That's what marriage and relationships are doing. They're not about your happiness. And as long as you leave it at the happy level, you're going to continue to be disappointed. You're going to continue to break up these relationships or leave them and thinking you're waiting and looking for the person that's going to make you happy. You will be in search forever. I'm just telling you. And lastly, because we are a little over the 30 minutes, lastly, if you really want your relationships to last, if you want them to grow, if you want them to make a difference, give your relationship a purpose. I promise you, if you take and put purpose on relationships, so there was this saying that says, when you don't know for, then you will misuse it. So if you don't give a relationship a purpose, you're going to misuse that relationship. And so sit down with the people you're in relationship with and begin to create a vision and a purpose for your relationship. Andre and I was married for 12 years. Like, nobody told us, but it's maybe our fault because we didn't go to marriage counseling. But we was married for 12 years and didn't have a vision for our marriage. And this is what I just want to share. And I don't share this to boast. I share this because when we see it now, it was literally life-changing. When Andre and I went through a hard time and we thought our marriage was going to end, and we did the work that was required to heal individually. He did the healing, I did healing. And we came back together and we started realizing, wow, this relationship was really about our healing. Like, everything I have inside of me is designed to help you heal, and everything Andre has inside of him was designed to help me heal. When we began to use the relationship that way and went through the healing process, we gave the relationship a vision and a purpose. And one of our, because we're God people, we're Jesus, we're the Bible. One of our things is we wanted to break the generational curse in our family of poverty. Now listen, this is what I tell my children. Andre and I might not get there. Like, we may not see our wealth on this side of the earth. But already, we have a son. Bryson's 18 years old. He's graduating. Well, he'll be 18 next month. He's graduating with a 4-year scholarship to a university. Okay, so that means he gets to graduate without any debt. Boom. We already, the vision to break poverty, boom. We're already on the course. We started at $529. This boy gets a check from us for thousands of dollars, more money than I ever had at 18 years old, to the point where we're talking about getting him a financial advisor. Because it's like, what are you going to do with this money? Now that you have a full scholarship, you don't need that money for college. And we've already found out he doesn't have to put it in college. They literally will write the check for him. What's he going to do with that kind of money? We are breaking a generational curse, guys, because we've made that part of the purpose of our marriage. So what I'm saying to you is, if you give your relationship a vision and a purpose, then align with God, be intentional. Now your relationships serve a bigger and better purpose than happiness. And so because our marriage have a huge, bigger relationship, have a bigger purpose, then Andre got to make me happy and I got to make him happy. We got to make each other whole. Like, we're willing, like, yo, I see that's coming up in you. What I just triggered. Like, literally, that's the kind of conversation Dre and I have. When he gets, like, if I say something and he gets high, I'll be like, whoa, what did you hear me say? What did I just trigger in you? Or he'll be like, yo, well, why are you at level 10? What did I hurt in you? What did you hear? Because what I said wasn't that. Like, that's the level we live at now because of the work that we've done. And that's not happy. That's healing. And so what I'm encouraging you guys to do is to see marriage as way bigger and way better, or relationships as way bigger and way better. Thank you guys so much. Do your work and let's have great relationships. Talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.